Sorry, I had a phone call. Nope, not into that. I kind of think it sounds kind of cool without the piano. You got to remember, like, trailer music is all about the sound effects going, their dialogue. Very simple. Very simple. I'm going to try to strip back. What I like to do is I add in... Oh, hey, man, what's up? I'm making a trailer. Hopefully it won't be awful. And right there, it'll be our big hit back. did this go? Thing that's cool about Junkie XL Brass well, one of the many things, is apparently you can expand the range of each instrument. So this tuba, I believe we just click and drag. Yeah. Yeah, now we can get down to that super low A. I think it's so cool. I think we can do something better. Oh, I have my low latency on. this isn't why this isn't loading. Don't need. Hey, Alexander. Actually, that was a piano. Um. I'm listening for just a little bit of consistency. Like here. So if we go open this guy up. Yeah, so if you see, like, only when I hit the keys a little bit harder, it kind of compresses just a little bit. It's so when in these, like, sort of dense and, like, really floaty sounds, you're going to lose some of the lower stuff, and I want to use that as a rhythmic thing. So I want to push down on the higher, the louder notes. So once the compressor lets go, the quieter ones are closer to us, if that makes sense. So we have more of like an even sound, but we still have the velocity of the harder hits. And a little goes a long way usually. Yeah. Always think about that. Like, you know, sometimes it's about, it's like people go overboard with compressors and you can use them for like an effect, right? Where you get that really punchy, tight front end and you hear the compressor. But you don't always have to use it like that. And I think people generally start to compress things until they get that sound, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. But really, sometimes it's nice to just be very delicate and only take off a few dB here and there, and you're gonna get a little bit more balance in your mix, and you're not gonna really affect the sound because that's not really what I'm trying to do with the piano. I'll try to find something later on where I just compress the crap out of it so you can sort of see like how to think about things a little differently. I don't know how experienced you are with compression and effects and all that stuff. Yeah, here. Why don't we do this? So this is what we'll do. I'll show you a couple things that you can mess around with. So here, we'll just do this over here. We'll just put in something super, super simple. You know, this will tried and true chord progression. So I'll show you a couple things. Man, I've been sick for like 4 weeks and I like can't get over it. It's crazy. I'm just gonna put in just a separate little part real quick. So we have. Oh, thanks, man. Right, so something super generic like that. And now I'm gonna mute the reverb and stuff, so we just really hear what's going on. So I'll give you a couple different kind of like sounds you can get. So like the 1176 thing. So with this compressor, you can really kind of do two things. You can smash the like attack back into the piano, and this stuff is good for like dense pop rock or pop kind of thing, where it's not like the main focus, but it's like a supporting thing. And sometimes the spikiness like jumps out of the mix a little bit, and you want to just hold it down. You want to kind of create more of like a bed. So, you know, a faster attack, a little bit slower release, and really start to smash it. So now you should hear like the bass notes, right, which were quieter before, are almost the same level as the little lead thing. So it kind of creates like, I mean, it's clearly very compressed, but it kind of creates more of like a flatness to it. So you can go the other way where a super long attack, fast release, and now you can make it poke out of the mix if you don't hear it as much. Right? That as opposed to this. Feels a little more flat to me. And then the all buttons in is also a classic thing to do. And then another great compressor to use on pianos if you have beach ball. If you have the 33609 and the UAD stuff, those are like classic go-to piano compressors. Oh boy. No! All right, I gotta force quit. Sorry. Man, Cubase is just being a real asshole today. Yeah, always ask yourself, like, really, honestly, what I used to do when to develop like instincts for mixing is I used to sit there and just listen to the song and write down what I thought things needed before I even touched an EQ or a compressor. Because if you don't know why you're doing something, you don't know what you're doing. You're sort of just going through the motion of, oh yeah, this is what I normally do, or this is what what I'm supposed to do. So, like we'll just use this piano thing as an example again. Let's say you're working on one of your own songs, or you're a mixer and you get a song in. Just listen and go, get a balance, just a fader balance where everything's up and you can hear everything, and just sit there and listen and go, well, I'm losing the piano. So that means I need to make it poke out more. So I can do that with EQ and compression. So write down EQ, bitey EQ and compression, right? And then move on to the next thing. It might be like, another common thing is I lose bass notes, right? If it's like a real bass player, some notes just don't ring as true. So then you go, okay, well, I need to compress it so I make sure all the bass notes are even, right? And maybe I need more low end in like A's are always really, really loud for me sometimes. But then E's might not have the same power. So, okay, I need to make sure that the E has the same power as the A. So there's two things you can do. You compress it, you listen. If that doesn't work, you can add some EQ to bring out the fundamental of the E a little bit more. If that doesn't work, well, then you go in and you do these like tiny little micro rides. So the bass just feels really nice and flat, because that's, the foundation of the song is like drums and bass. You need to have that sort of consistency throughout to really lock the song in. So I used to do things like that, and eventually you just develop instincts because you've encountered enough problems and done things so many different times in so many different ways and failed enough times where you know what will work and what won't work. And you still will encounter little things that you might not have experienced before, but you figure those out, and then you got that in your toolbox, and you just kind of keep going. Boy, Cubase is really not wanting to open. I broke it. Yeah, that happens a lot. Like whenever I would teach like a seminar or do anything like that about mixing, is it's funny. I remember I did this one thing on drums, and people would people would do things like start taking pictures of of my screenshots or the screen of however I had drums EQ and set. And I would always tell them, I was like, go ahead and take the pictures and go home and set it like that, just so you understand, like you know, to hear it. But that doesn't mean it's always right. You know, it's not about what I'm doing, it's why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And that's a good observation for you, is like always think like, why am I doing things? And I challenge you to do this. Go the next song you have, or a song that you're working on, or track, or whatever you do, go and don't do anything. Don't EQ anything. Don't compress anything. Okay. And do a mix of that, like just with fader balances, and then go in and do a mix how you normally would and listen to the two. And I bet you'll be happier with the overall sound when you didn't do anything, as opposed to doing it. Because what happens is, when you start to manipulate all these sounds with EQ, compression, and whatever, you're essentially fucking them up, right? But most people, when they're learning and starting out, they overdo it, right? Because you want to hear it. But the more experience you get, the more you learn how to edit yourself, and you say, you know what, I'm not going to do anything to that because it sounds great already and I don't need to mess with it. The other thing I find is that people always chase a sound. They like try to make something sound like whatever they're aiming to do, but you didn't have those tracks, you didn't have those musicians, you didn't have those guitars, those strings, or whatever you're working on, right? So it's never going to sound like that. So just embrace what you've created and try to make that sound the best it can, and stop comparing it to everybody else, and you'll have way better results. All right, so I force quit Cubase like 10 times. I'm going to have to restart my computer. So I will be right back. Give me like 5 minutes. Thanks, guys.